After 30 days, I ultimately failed at bullet journaling, and I'm gonna get into that. But first, if you stay to the end of this video, I have a free giveaway, so make sure you stay to the end. But first, let's rewind a bit. Bulleted journaling is really important. Do what works for you. 30 days, I'm gonna have a follow-up video coming out on this. So I challenged myself to bullet journal for 30 days, and in doing so, I had to delete my task management app, Things3, which, if you know from my previous videos, I swear by. And to kind of cover the lead, I'm back in Things3, and I'm gonna explain why a little bit later in this video. The first question I had was, why did I do this in the first place? Why did I take journaling, something so simple, and for me, something, I do all the time before I did this challenge with just like writing my ideas down, storyboarding on paper and all that stuff, and put my task management into it. And that was my ultimate question, was why did I do that? And the reasons I found out thinking back and kind of going through these 30 days on why I did it was to take things one day at a time, not to overthink the future, focusing less on perfection, staying ultimately off my phone, which is pretty hard to do in 2023, and do what ultimately works for me. One of the main questions I had and was able to sort of answer was, how long does it take to form a habit? And after lots of research, I got many different answers. So for me, I took it as about 30 days to form a habit. And as I'm at the 30-day mark of bullet journaling, it's a habit that sort of turned into a habit, but also put me backwards into some methods I used to use and some realizations. So the first thing I focused on was taking things one day at a time. And when I jumped into my journal every single morning and wrote out my 4 or 5 bullets, I was able to do that. I was able to focus on the day and whatever my tasks were within that day. And that became nice. It became a sense of just focusing in the present now. I realized that I was forgetting a lot of things that I would need to do, as simple as paying a bill. And that's really when this dawned on me. I ultimately forgot to pay a bill, which is something I don't do. It went back as, why did that happen? And for me, my thoughts were it happened simply because, I didn't remember that day that a bill was due. Yes, I had it in my calendar app, but that's not the way my mind worked when I was trying to ultimately disconnect from my phone. I also love that I only had to take responsibility for the day it was. And I loved that, but also hated it. I loved it because it was a simple thought, and I hated it was because I'm a planner and I love to plan. And if I can plan 30 days in advance, I will. I would find myself in my notes app writing down tasks for multiple days in advance just so I did not forget. So I had it somewhere. I found myself almost, towards the end, towards day like 25 to 30, wanting to do this the night before and not being able to fall asleep because I knew there was tasks in my mind that I would probably forget in the morning. The next was, don't overthink the future. And I overthought the future like you wouldn't believe. And it's funny because my one goal was to stay in the present and not overthink the things 2 days in advance, 3 days in advance, the day after, 1 month in advance. And all I would do was find myself thinking about things I had to do well in advance. And this doesn't just go into my day-to-day tasks. This will go into shooting YouTube videos. This will go into what days I'm shooting A-roll, what days I'm shooting B-roll, and ultimately just cause a big stressor for me having to think in the future and not really allowing myself to do so. And it was nearly impossible to just sit there and worry about missing tasks. I would simply forget to write them down the day I had to do them, and I couldn't plan them out. Focusing less on perfection. I hate my handwriting. My handwriting is so messy. It's been messy for years. It's something that like my friends have called me out on for years. And even it's to the point where it's something I can't even read sometimes. But when you've been writing for years and years and years and you've learned and formed the way your handwriting is, it is hard to flip the switch and become all of a sudden tidy with it. And my handwriting was a big piece of it, where I would almost get frustrated in the mornings when I had to write, because early on I was doing this like 3 or 4 times just to get the handwriting in a place where I was happy with it and knew I could be able to read it at the end of the day and still have that satisfaction of knowing what I was ultimately crossing out. The next thing was like, I had to take my journal to like the store with me. I went to a car wash to get my car washed and took the journal to the car wash so I could cross it out after. I hated the fact that I had to bring my journal everywhere, and I mean, a fix for that might be a smaller journal because this is a pretty big journal, but ultimately, like, I wasn't a fan of bringing it absolutely everywhere with me. And if I didn't bring it, I felt like the day was a wash. I felt like if I completed a task and I didn't have it with me, I didn't really complete the task. And it's almost like if you work out without your Apple Watch on and you don't start the activity app, did you really work out? It was almost that feeling for me, and it was frustration. But ultimately, one of the things I touched on in the first video I did was that our minds are messy places. And I'm a firm believer in that. And when I look at my journal, when I look at to days and days and months in advance before whatever the present day is, it's a messy place. And it's a messy place because that's the way our mind works, or at least mine is, that the mess gets thrown down onto paper, and that's really how our mind works. But for me, putting tasks in there, it was something that I didn't want to focus on perfection, but ultimately wanted perfection because it was the best way for me to stay organized, was to be almost quote unquote perfect with it. And ultimately, when I'm journaling, I want to lose myself in the pages. And I seem to do so when I do just normal journaling. But when it came to tasks, I couldn't disconnect from losing myself in the moment journaling and also task management in the right area. So it was kind of hard for me to blend the two together. And that was something I really had trouble with. Next up was stay off my phone. That was impossible. It's 2023, my life is on my phone. Everything I do is on my phone, and I found myself almost in my phone more in my notes app, writing down things so I wouldn't forget them. If it was ideas, if it was tasks I needed to get done multiple days from now that I knew I'd forget, if it was subscriptions I wanted to cancel. Whatever it was, I found myself in my phone because I knew that if I thought about it then and there, I always had my phone with me to kind of write it down and type it out. And it's just hard to stay focused on not being on your phone and kind of substituting it with this. And there's ways I did it. Like, I'm able to just journal on this and I don't do any journaling in here. But when it comes to tasks, my phone works better for me. And that jumps into something I talked about earlier. And I'm back on things 3. As you can see right here, I'm back on things 3. And it's this sense of anxiety that I don't have anymore because I know my tasks are there for the day. I know my tasks are there for the next day. I know if something comes up in my mind throughout the day that I have to throw on there, I just throw it in my inbox. As a creative and someone whose mind's going at all hours of the day, it's a lot easier to have your task management being on your cellular device. And the fact that I can have it on my cell phone, I can go to it on my watch, I can do it on my iPad or my MacBook. I mean, it sucks that technology has taken over like this, but like, that's what this channel is, my love for technology. So why not utilize the apps that people are developing and do what works for me? And that jumps into the last one, do what works for you. I tried this 30-day challenge out because I really believed that I'd be able to do it. And I did it for 30 days and I learned real hard that it's not for me. I learned what is for me is journaling, storyboarding, just jotting down my mind on paper is for me. But when it comes to task management, I need a phone. I need this device to be able to ultimately get the tasks done I need throughout the day. So I said earlier I failed. I didn't really fail. I more so found what ultimately worked for me in 30 days. And I'm happy with that. I'm happy that I'm able to journal on here, dump all my ideas on here, and have it completely separate from all of my tasks throughout the day. All right, I said earlier there was gonna be a giveaway, and I'm at that point now. So you guys have seen on this channel my wallpaper pack. I have a Coffees and Cameras wallpaper pack, a Cities wallpaper pack, and I have a FX3 wallpaper pack coming in the near future. And I want to give back to my channel. We're 1,800 strong. I love the conversations we have in the comments. I love just the support I'm getting on this channel. And I love that we're growing day by day. So I have 4 things you need to do if you want to get my wallpaper pack completely for free, plus this bonus wallpaper coming out in the near future. The first thing you have to do is like this video. That's easy, that's simple. The next thing is comment below what logo, what this is on my hat. It doesn't have to be what the brand is, but just what this is. Next is subscribe to my channel, and then follow me on Instagram at Joseph Lipsen. And if you do these 4 things, you'll be entered into the drawing to win some of my wallpapers that are up on my storefront. So with that, make sure you like and subscribe to follow along so you don't miss an upload. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and until the next one.